I'll say this at pretty much every masterclass I do. I can tell whether it's like a world-class improviser or like a legend just by looking at their solo on a jazz song, like looking at a transcription and looking at beat 4 to 1.
Hey there, Jay Metcalf here. Last month, while in New York, and before the current apocalyptic state of the world, I met up with my friend and great saxophone player, Chad Lefkowitz-Brown.
Hey, what's up? Man? How's it going?
Good to see you. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, man.
Not only is Chad one of my favorite saxophone players, but he's also a fantastic educator who has been sharing valuable information on how to practice and learn improvisation techniques at an advanced level. In his hands, the saxophone is a deadly weapon. Not only for his ludicrous shredding chops, Chad is also an extremely expressive player, and he's got a sound that just makes you want to listen again and again and again. He's a frequent guest soloist with Chris Bodie, has toured with Taylor Swift, and in today's video, he's going to share with us one of the most important areas to address when trying to get your improvised lines to sound more like the real thing. So if you like saxophone tutorials like this one, drop me one of these right now and get yourself subscribed to the channel if you aren't already.
Like the whole thing could be blanked out and I would just see beat 4 and 1 and the chord changes. And I would know whether it was like a master or whether it was a guy still like kind of working his stuff out in the jazz language. What you can do that's really simple is just take scale exercises and add chromatic approach notes. Level 0 would just be essentially playing a bebop scale. And a lot of people are familiar with bebop scales and they're great, but it can go so much deeper. So the bebop scale, of course, is just if you're doing major, you're going to add a chromatic between the 5th and 6th degree. So I'm going to play from C concert. It's going to be my D. And so I just added a chromatic approach note between 5 and 6. That's really melodic. The reason why you add it there is it's the only place that you can add a chromatic approach note and still get the chord tones happening on the downbeats. So you got ba da 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 da. So you essentially get 1, 3, 5, and 6 on the downbeats, and 6 is as valuable of a chord tone as the major 7 is on a major chord.
Interchangeable.
Exactly. And then for the dominant bebop scale, that's what you use on a dominant chord, and that's going to be this. And that's going to be just adding the chromatic approach note at the end. That's in between the 7th and the root on top.
So very quickly, let me recap what these two bebop scales are. So for the major bebop scale, you can see it's based on a major scale, but we've added this chromatic passing tone or approach note, the G sharp, and that allows us to get all of the chord tones, which I've labeled in pink, to land on the downbeats. The 1, 3, 5, and 6, and then 1 again. The dominant bebop scale is based on the dominant scale or the Mixolydian scale. It's got a flat 7 in it. And this time we've added the chromatic approach note or passing tone between the 7 and the 1 on top. It's the B natural. So now our chord tones 1, 3, 5, flat 7, and 1 again all land on downbeats.
Bebop scales are great to practice. Learn them through the keys. Absolutely. And it's a great square 1. But a lot of times people stop there, and really you can go further. I'll do this in major, so this is going to be concert C major. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to step up a few degrees, essentially like this. And then I'm going to go back down. Do, 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 do. Now, we want to get to the next scale degree, which is going to be the 2nd degree. So we start on C, now we want to get to D. So we can keep on doing this shape up. And so on and so forth. And the way we're going to do it is we're just going to add a chromatic approach note. So most of the time, in fact, all but twice, we're just going to add that note that's right in between. So if we go C, D, E, F, G, F, E, and we want to get to a D, then all we have to do is add an E flat, and then we're going to land on that D. Now, sometimes though, 2 times, because of the spacing of the scale, we're not going to have a half step in between. So like right here. Right here we're on a concert F, and we're going down to an E. So there's no space in between. So what we do is we go down to the note below. It sounds like this.
So for anyone who wants to start playing improvised lines that sound more like the recordings you're listening to and less like you're just playing scales up and down, this exercise is an excellent place to start. I've got a couple of gifts for you that'll help you get started working on this, and I'll let you know more about that in a minute. For now, let's go over all that stuff slowly. In the bebop scale, we added a chromatic passing note so that the chord tones of our scale would consistently land on the downbeats. This helps make our lines more melodic. This exercise is taking that concept to another level. Here, we're learning to add chromatic passing tones between all of the notes of our scale that are a whole step apart. When the notes of our scale are only a half step apart and there's no room to add a chromatic passing tone between them, we then add a lower neighbor note instead. Let's break that down in concert C, which will be the key of D for tenor saxophone and A for alto saxophone. Starting on the root of a major scale, we go up to 5 and then back down, adding a chromatic passing tone between 3 and 2, since those notes are a whole step apart. Starting on the second scale degree, we go up to 6 and then back down, but there is no room for a chromatic passing tone between 4 and 3, so we use a lower neighbor instead. Starting on the third scale degree, we play up to 7 and back down, adding the passing tone between 5 and 4. Starting on 4, we play up to the root and back down, adding the passing tone between 6 and 5. Starting on the 5th scale degree, we play up to the 9th and back down, adding the passing tone between 7 and 6. Starting on the 6th scale degree, we play up to the 10th. And here is the other spot where the scale notes are a half step apart. So again, we're going to use the lower neighbor instead. Starting on 7, we play up to the 11th and back down, adding the passing tone between 9 and the root. This pattern or shape can also be played in a downward direction like this. Learning this in all 12 keys will do wonders for your technique and get your fingers ready to play more interesting lines while improvising in all styles of music. This isn't just for jazz soloing. There are a couple of prerequisites you're going to want to have together before you dive into this, though. You're going to want to know your major scales in all 12 keys intimately, as well as your chromatic scale. Anyone who's gone through my Core Essentials course should have this stuff down already. I strongly recommend that you practice this and any other technical exercise very slowly at first so that you can focus on accuracy, rhythm, finger position, staying relaxed, among other things. You can really reduce the amount of time it takes to fully internalize something by learning it perfectly at a slow tempo starting out. Now, let me demonstrate how I would apply this exercise to improvising. Keep in mind, the idea here is not to learn an exercise or a pattern and then plug it in exactly as written here and there while you're soloing. These things are meant to get our fingers and ears comfortable navigating between point A and point B. Once we have internalized the mechanics and sound of this, we should then be able to embellish our improvised lines, our melodies, using these chromatic approach notes, like this. Now, I've put together a little PDF for you to download. It explains all the stuff we've been talking about so far, as well as the backing track I just played over. And if you'd like to get access to that, as well as all of my other free resources, you can click the link in the description below or just go visit bettersax.com/shed. Not easy to say. bettersax.com/shed. There's tons of great stuff over there, so go check it out. In addition, if you'd like to pick up any of Chad's books over at jazzlessonvideos.com, use the coupon code BetterSax at checkout to get yourself a nice discount. Now, this is just one example from Chad's book, 10 warm-up exercises for jazz musicians. Let's go back to Chad so he can show us the enclosures part of this with another one of the exercises from that book.
And then if you want to get even trickier with it, the next level would be to do it with enclosures. The diatonic scale pattern is going to be a little harder. It's going to go like this. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 5, 4.
So that's the pattern without the
fancy
jazz stuff.
No fancy stuff in here. Yeah, exactly. It's all diatonic. And then when you get here, this is where we do the enclosure. So what we're going to do is every time we're going to do 2 chromatic notes from the top. And then we're going to play a chromatic note from below. So it's always 2 half steps approaching the next degree from above and then 1 from below. And then so when you put that together, it's and so that one ends up sounding really hip. That's getting a lot of language in there. So, and all you have to do in order to apply it to a different tonality is it's functioning modally, just like any scale exercise does. So I was playing C major, but if I wanted to start on the next note, all of a sudden it becomes Dorian, so it's like minor. So now it's like D minor.
Chad has a bunch of amazing PDF books over at his website, jazzlessonvideos.com. Most of the stuff is pretty advanced, so if this is all new to you, I recommend you start with the 10 warm-up exercises for jazz musicians. In just that one PDF, you've got enough stuff to keep you busy for a very long time. If you can learn all of those in all 12 keys with solid rhythm and technique, you're going to have greatly improved your playing in multiple ways. Chad also has some great albums out, and I encourage you to go listen to them on all the streaming platforms. He's also got an amazing YouTube channel where he's been uploading live performances and recordings, as well as more teaching lesson videos for many years. So head over to Chad's YouTube channel, get subscribed, and watch a bunch of that content. I've got more videos to share with you from my meeting with Chad, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next video. Hey man, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you, Jay. Man, my pleasure.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.